Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk, Real Sports with my co-host Michael Sanchez, and I'm your host Anthony Sanchez. We're reporting today from a very special day. This is a happy Easter to everybody watching us. How do you feel about today?
Oh, it's going to be a great day today. We've got a few things to talk about. We want to bring up some things in the draft, but most importantly, we want to talk playoffs. The playoffs officially started yesterday, and your true Miami Heat are playing as we speak.
Well, yeah, the Heat are playing the Bobcats right now. It's been a slow start. They're down, I think, 16-11 right now. But, they're giving it a go. It's early on in the game. So, we'll see. We'll keep you updated on that, especially next week when we do our episode. But let's talk about the game earlier today. The Dallas Mavericks versus the San Antonio Spurs. I had a little interest in that game. I'm a Dirk Nowitzki fan. Unfortunately, he didn't have the best game today. He was off his game. What'd you think of that game today?
Well, Spurs, to me, Greg Popovich did what everybody expected them to do. I have a great feeling on them making it back to the finals championship. The only team that's going to compete with them is going to be OKC. When it comes down to it, you got Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. Everybody just knows how to play their roles. They execute very well. And Greg Popovich has a great control over all these guys. Kawhi Leonard, very young guy, playing very efficient.
Well, let me tell you, watching this game today, the one who looked like he had the fountain of youth again was Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was beasting it up today. They could not stop him, not Dirk, not Dallenberg. They tried a whole rotation. Brandon Wright was probably one of the ones that kind of slowed him down a little bit. But overall, Tim Duncan had one of those games of, your typical Tim Duncan. Tony Parker took over the first half. They could not stop him driving to the basket. But you got to give Rick Carlisle credit. At halftime, he made adjustments, and Tony Parker really wasn't a factor in the second half. I'll tell you who played a really good game for San Antonio was Thiago Splitter. Thiago Splitter was offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding. He had Dirk,
Well, that's what he's in there for, man. He's a defensive threat for sure. Always rebounding, always on the glass. Very aggressive guy, very physical. You also have Marco Bellinelli, who can stretch out the court with the outside shot.
Yeah, he wasn't too much of a factor at all today, though. He didn't do much in this game. Like I said, Thiago Splitter on the defensive end on Dirk. Dirk was off. Monte Ellis was off today. The bench of Dallas came through. This is why the game was close. But their starters really today were off. I don't think you'll see that in the second game again from the starters. But I think this was their best chance to have taken a game in San Antonio. San Antonio was down almost the whole game, or they were tied. It was majority of the tie game in the lead real quick. The Mavericks were up at one point by 13 points.
Definitely, the Mavs will be depending a lot on their shooting. Their inside game isn't the strongest.
No.
You have Monte Ellis, who's a shooter. You have Dirk Nowitzki, who is a 7-foot shooter. Jose Calderon, another shooter. Devin Harris, shooters.
Oh, you have Vince Carter,
who has aged and developed that great shot of his, from the outside.
He was off today too, missing a lot of even easy layups.
So if Dallas can stick to that and come and shoot better than what they did from the in the field. Definitely, I would say if they can play around the 44% to 50% field goal percentage, they can probably make it challenging for the Spurs. But like I said, the Spurs,
it's going to be tough for Dallas. Like I said, today was probably their best shot to get at least one in San Antonio. But hey, that's the way it goes sometimes. Other games that are going to be coming up today is the Bulls and the Wizards. The Rockets and the Trailblazers, and obviously, like I said, you got going on right now currently the Miami Heat versus the Bobcats. What do you think about that Bulls Wizards game?
Oh man, Chicago's hungry. Chicago's another team. Let me tell you, everybody is sleeping on Chicago. I actually have Chicago making it maybe against the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Wow, and talking about that, you said that. It's kind of interesting you mentioned that because, a lot of people would say that the Indiana Pacers are going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. And after what we saw last night between the Pacers and the Hawks, Hawks take game one. I know it's early, it's a long series, but that made a statement. And that shows you Indiana, ever since the Evan Turner trade, has not been the same.
Nope, we said it here on Real Talk, Real Sports. That was a big mistake by Indiana, taking out a key weapon as Danny Granger, who was part of that team, knew his role, and could have been a factor against the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, you can't substitute size. He had size for basically a small / power forward, but basically he was a small forward.
Definitely, he can guard up somebody like a Paul Millsap, who right now is playing great for Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta's hungry.
Atlanta's very hungry.
They haven't been, they don't really do much in the playoffs usually.
And let me tell you, this is going to be a huge spark to their morale and carrying forward, taking a game in Indiana.
Yeah, that's the most important part. They took one in Indiana, and then, even if they lose the next one, which that's the way you never want to think, but if they do, they're 1-1 and they're going back to Atlanta.
All I got to say is, Vogel, you gassed out your guys. You gassed them out. You wanted that number 1 spot so bad, you gassed them out, and Atlanta takes a game in your house. You guys better be careful if you want to make it anywhere near the Heat.
Well, and like we said, the Heat right now losing to the Bobcats, but you know what? We're not worried about the Heat, but we are worried about the long run, because if we do get by the Bobcats, then we have potentially a matchup with the Brooklyn Nets.
And yeah, we haven't beat them all year this year. We're 0-4 against them.
And talking about that, they basically had a good game last night. Paul Pierce, did you see the game that he had? I mean,
Paul Pierce,
he was talking a little smack at the end.
That's why they call him the truth.
But hey, Brooklyn
is great. KG still coming in, doing a little bit of something.
And can you imagine if they still had Brook Lopez healthy? I mean, that would be even a more dangerous team. But I will tell you what, Mason Plumlee has come out from Duke, which I love Duke, and you know that. But he's definitely shown up on the NBA scene, and he's proven that he can ball.
Hey, he's got a great highlight against Mr. LeBron James on that huge block, which a lot of people consider a foul. But hey, you can't take anything away from Plumlee. That was a great defensive play.
The fact that he even stepped up and went up to try to match up this guy that everybody would usually try to run from, or hey, I'm not going to jump against LeBron. He did. He got it his way. So hey, can't take that away from him. Another game that was that showed another basically who's going to most likely be the MVP this season was Oklahoma City against Memphis. Kevin Durant was just on fire again last night.
Shooting lights out like he normally does. Russell Westbrook doing what he does. You got Serge Ibaka, Kendrick Perkins, great defensive players.
I mean, I actually thought that Memphis was going to put up a little bit more of a fight with that inside game that they had. They were a little off last night, Gasol and Randolph.
That's the problem with Memphis, that all they really have is Zebo and Marc Gasol, and they're basically the type of guys that play down low. Yes, they sometimes can take that mid-range jump shot, but their power is playing inside the paint. You're going up against Serge Ibaka, one of the top defenders in the league. Kendrick Perkins, another gritty defensive player. Going to make it hard for them, going to force them to take those shots, and that's what happens.
I think it's going to, me personally, I think it's going to be key for Memphis to slow this game down. You can't let the Thunder run up and down with Westbrook. That's Westbrook's game, is running up and down the court. If he's not going to take the shot, he's going to look for Durant. Memphis needs to slow this game down and get their balls to their big guys, which is Gasol and Randolph, and let them do their stuff down low. Again, you can't forget about Conley. Conley had a heck of a season this year. Definitely could score. But again, it goes back to the inside for them. It's all about Randolph and Gasol for them. If they're on their game, rebounding and scoring, Memphis can put up a fight.
A game I was actually very thrilled to watch last night was the Golden State and Clippers game, because a lot of people have the Clippers rated so high. I actually thought the Clippers would win at home. And by the way, there was 3 yesterday out of the 4 games, 3 road games. 3 of the Road Warriors were victorious, and there was only 1 home winner, which was OKC.
Wow, you don't usually see that. It's usually the other way around, but
yeah,
that just tells you that the NBA.
Getting back to that Golden State game, Steph Curry shooting lights out. The Splash Brothers, Klay Thompson shooting. I thought not having Bogut was going to affect them, because of DeAndre Jordan being such a big man, physical down low. Blake Griffin, another big man that likes to play down low, and they reached down into their bench and got some help.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. That game is going to be one of those up and down games. The Golden State. The only thing about them, they remind me of the college version of Duke. They depend a lot on their shooting, not just 3-pointers, but shooting in period.
Yeah.
Especially with Bogut not being there. Even though Bogut's not really your most inside player either. Bogut likes to play outside of the basket.
But he is a great defender and rebounder.
Oh no, definitely.
Hats off to Jermaine O'Neal for stepping in and doing a good job.
Now another series that I think is going to be interesting is going to be Houston and Portland tonight.
That's a very, very interesting.
They're both
matchup.
long and big.
LaMarcus Aldridge and Dwight Howard is a key matchup to watch tonight.
Not only that, James Harden. And then you got for Portland, their guards.
You got Damian Lillard.
There you go.
The guy is shooting lights out.
Just signed a $100 million contract with Adidas. Definitely that's going to be another series. The NBA this year, let me tell you, a lot of parity, a lot of across the board. It should be very interesting. The West is one of the craziest sections to watch because of how many of those teams could have easily been. If you look at the Eastern Conference, where they would have been ranked.
You look at the Eastern Conference and you're fourth seeded team only had 44 wins. If they would have been in the Western Conference, they would have put them at the 8th and 9th seed.
Wow, that's crazy to think about. But again, those are going to be your games tonight. Bulls versus Wizards, Houston versus Portland, and obviously going on right now currently, Miami versus the Bobcats. And then basically after that, we're going to basically see what the Heat have. I mean, after today's game, we're going to be heading game 2. Hopefully today we come out with that victory. Right now, we're a little sluggish, but it's game 1.
It would be great for the Heat to go ahead and sweep the Bobcats so they can get a little bit more rest and getting into that second game if they do go ahead and face Brooklyn, because that will be a very tough matchup for the Heat.
Well, not only that, I mean, it'll be great to sweep the Bobcats and get Dwayne Wade some rest, because we all know he's trying out there, but he's not the most healthiest. But when he is out there, he's being effective. But we would like to have him out there, throughout the playoffs and hopefully the championship series if everything goes well. So that's basically it for today, covering the NBA playoffs. It's kicked off with a bang, actually, a lot of good games, and we're looking forward to more action-packed games coming up. Again, go Heat. Hopefully we can get that victory today.
Before you switch over, I want to get your take on how do you feel about the NBA Finals? Who's actually making it all the way after what you've seen with these few games?
I mean, again, some of these games aren't over with yet. I haven't seen Houston or Portland yet. Houston might make some noise. I mean, let me tell you, they can score. They can definitely score. Their defending is on and off. They're better at home than they are away. And then you got, you basically got the Spurs and the Mavericks, whose series is not over with. I still think if Dallas, if there's 5 starters can help out better than they did today, I think they can make that a series. Maybe I still think it'll probably go 6. Spurs, obviously. I wish it was the other way around, but I would have to say 6 games for the Spurs. If I had to pick right now, just blindly, I would go Spurs and Heat for a rematch in the championship.
Wow.
And the bad thing would be that now the Spurs have the home court advantage. So Game 7 would be in San Antonio.
Very true.
So that'd be interesting. And as a side note, Popovich has been doing nothing but showing them Game 6 videos leading up to the playoffs of how they were just that close.
Reminds us of what Eric Spoelstra did to the Heat, repeating those Mav videos of how they just choked up.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Let me tell you, I don't think it's going to be so easy. I'm saying Spurs and Heat right now just because of that's what I'm feeling. But obviously, I haven't seen some of the other teams just play in the playoffs just yet. Okay. So we'll definitely access this a little bit more in our next show. I want to definitely come up to our next topic, which is going to be interesting. Everybody talks about them as the praised position in the NFL, and that's going to be the new incoming crop of quarterbacks from college to the NFL. And what do you think about some of these prospects that they're talking about?
Let me tell you, I said it here on this show a few months ago. For all of you who like to watch, I talked about Derek Carr. I said I was going out on a limb. Did I take him over Teddy Bridgewater and Johnny Manziel? Well, guess what? Those analysts are now taking him and shooting him up that board. Blake Bortles is another guy that's being real hot right now. I like this guy. His size is amazing. He's got that big bend size at 6'5", 240 pounds. Very solid quarterback.
No, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some names up here. Like you said, Blake Bortles, Derek Carr. Obviously, the top 3 that they keep trying to shove down your throat. Johnny Manziel.
Mr. Teddy Bridgewater.
I mean, I know Bortles now it's up there, but it took them basically a whole season and a little bit of the off season to even bring this guy up. And the guy did nothing but win. And yes, he played for UCF, but what was you can't make up an excuse for what he did in the bowl game. How he literally picked these guys apart, Oklahoma.
It almost seems like some of these guys are getting paid to shoot these names up there, because Jason Garoppolo, all of a sudden...
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, sorry, Jimmy Garoppolo.
From Eastern Illinois, I mean...
All of a sudden jumping up boards, I'm sorry, this guy, no.
I mean, if you saw him at the Senior Bowl, and this is at the Senior Bowl, I mean, the guy was erratic, he was jumpy, any moment he had pressure, the ball was low, the ball was high, he was everywhere. I don't see how they feel that this guy is one of those guys, but... Aaron Murray, he's definitely shooting up. He had a really, really impressive pro day. But the guy, I mean, I'm going to keep fighting for. And I mean, I know a lot of people say, oh, well, no arm, none of this. I'm just going to tell you, go look at 199th pick in the draft quite a few years back now in Tom Brady. Because I think A.J. Macarron can be that type of sleeper.
Hey, I agree with you there.
You know what? He's 6'3", 220, played for a coach like Nick Saban, Alabama, has gotten 3 rings. and has started off 3 years. 2 of those he earned as the starting quarterback the ring, but the other one he got as a backup. But that's fine. He's been part of a championship pedigree. The guy's accurate.
Undefeated for 2 years.
I mean, yes, they're going to say, oh, he's had talent around him. But come on. That's an excuse for everybody.
Somebody's got to get the ball to those guys.
Exactly. And I mean, yes, he had a good offensive line, but that whole team was NFL ready.
I'm not going to say he's going to be a great starter right away, but if you can sit him behind a Tom Brady and let him learn and watch for at least a good 2 to 3 years, you're going to get yourself somebody like an Aaron Rodgers who sat behind Brett Favre.
Oh, and I agree. I'm not saying he needs to come in right now and be that starter. I mean, if you're a team like Cleveland, Jacksonville, even the Texans, who need one right now, I mean, I can understand maybe why you would look at a Bortles or something like that, because Macarron, yes, he's probably going to need a couple years to get a little, his feet wet in the NFL. But I believe in this guy. I think definitely who I compare him to personally is Chad Pennington, with a little better arm, to be honest with you.
Hey, all I got to say is Chad Pennington was the last quarterback to get the Miami Dolphins to the playoffs.
And I mean, all this hype about Johnny Manziel. What's your actual take on Johnny Manziel? I mean, let's just keep it real. I mean, what do you feel?
Listen, I don't want to take anything away from the guy. I'm not going to take anything away from him. The guy was explosive. He was a highlight reel in college. I don't think that's going to transition into the NFL at all. This guy is too much of an outside running quarterback. I don't know if anybody in the NFL can get him to stay in the pocket. It's too difficult for him. Almost, they say 6 feet. I think they're giving him 2 inches.
I mean, let me tell you, and another thing is that offensive linemen really don't like these type of quarterbacks. Why? Because they don't know where this guy is at when they're trying to block somebody. These guys are trying to block these fast defensive linemen that can run faster than most of these quarterbacks. And, they're too busy trying to keep them in front of them. And if you got him running sideline to sideline in circles, how are you going to keep these guys, in front of you? They're going to get holding calls. That affects them, not only on the field, but off the field because, paychecks. Some of these guys live off of incentives. Johnny Manziel won't be the most favorite guy in the locker room if he's getting these guys in trouble in that way too.
And yeah, he's an off the field issue as well. I mean, I'm not too high of this guy.
I mean, basically, I'm gonna put it to you this way. Me personally, you're either gonna love him, and that's the guy you want at quarterback, or he's a fail. Like there's no in between with him. Like, oh, he's gonna be maybe a backup, but he's either gonna be pass or fail.
The only guy that I see that he can hope to try to be like is a Russell Wilson. Because Russell Wilson is such a smart quarterback, a great decision maker, low turnover quarterback, doesn't need to throw for more than 200 yards a game, runs when he needs to.
That's the key. Runs when he needs to. Not just freaks out because he sees some guy coming off the corner.
Look at RG3. Look what's happened to him in the NFL.
And RG3 is a lot bigger
guy than Manziel. Look what happened to Michael Vick years ago. I mean, it happens to all these running quarterbacks. There's a difference between a mobile quarterback and a running quarterback.
Yeah, Steve Young was mobile.
John Elway was mobile.
Those guys ran when they had to. I mean, if the play wasn't there and it was breaking down, then yes, they're going to go ahead and get what they can or go for more if they can, especially a guy like Steve Young who had the wheels for it. But, I mean, to come in here and think you're going to be able to run around in circles, like that's disrespect. I mean, me personally, as a defensive player, I would take it as disrespect thinking that you could bring in a guy like Manziel to run around circles on me. Guess what I'm going to do as a defensive player? Every time I get a chance, I'm going to put a shot on Johnny Manziel.
Wait until Johnny Manziel gets hit by a 300-pounder. He's going to know what it is.
Now the name that I think is coming up big and nobody was talking about throughout the season or throughout the early offseason is Zack Mettenberger from LSU. This guy all of a sudden is just showing people he's a prototypical passer. He has a strong arm. Big kid stands in the pocket. Played in the SEC.
He had 2 great receivers to accommodate him as well, though.
I mean, I'm not telling you I'm sold on this kid. But, I mean, he does have the tools. Sometimes they say if he looks like a duck, walks like a duck, he's got to be a duck. Well, so far, Zack Mettenberger, he has the size of a quarterback, the arm of a quarterback, the poise of a quarterback. Hey, makes you wonder if around round 3, round 4, that guy is there. Do you take him?
Hey,
but some people now are saying that he's coming up in the back end of the first round. I think that's a little too high for a guy like that. Hey. But they've been saying the same thing as your guy that you just mentioned, in Aaron Murray. Aaron Murray wasn't even talked about until day 2 before, and now they're talking about late first, maybe early second.
Houston Texans with that number 1 pick, they're going to lock it up. The safest pick right now, I would say, is Jadeveon Clowney for them. I don't see any other quarterback. Blake Bortles, I wouldn't say number 1 overall.
Yeah, that's tough. As much as I like him.
That's why I say Jadeveon Clowney is their safest pick if they take a pick with their number 1 and don't trade out of it.
And actually, if you think about it, let's just play a quick game here. Let's play GM for the Texans. What about if basically you already know you're getting the most physical freak in nature coming out of Jadeveon Clowney, and you take him number 1. Guess what? You have the number 1 pick in the second round. You can still get one of those quarterbacks that we're talking about, a Derek Carr, an A.J. Macarron.
We just talked about your boy Mettenberger there.
Zack Mettenberger, Aaron Murray. Quality quarterbacks that they can easily go and take with that first pick in the second round. And then basically, honestly, I would see them as winners. You take a guy to line up next to basically in the opposite end of J.J. Watt. 2 monsters that way that now you can't even double team one because you're gonna go first double team the veteran because you're gonna go double team J.J. Watt. But if Clowney shows up with the speed and the power that we've seen him on the other side of right tackles, he'll eat up right tackles in the NFL.
And let me tell you, if I'm playing GM, my 3rd pick in that draft is a cornerback to accommodate.
And there's plenty of corners in this draft.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because if you got a guy like J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney pass rushing, there's no need to blitz anymore. You let your linebacker sit back and you play that man-to-man game, which I'm such a huge fan of. Not that zone or blitzing.
But like you said, they got to have the corner.
They got to have that corner. If they can get it, be careful. Houston's shooting right back up those boards.
Yeah, but definitely, I think Houston should make... personally, I mean, like I said, I've always had my little issues, as you've all seen throughout the shows, with Jadeveon Clowney being, his work ethic makes you wonder at times. We're talking about the draft. We're talking about you giving millions. Compared to giving a defensive lineman number 1 overall money to a quarterback, there's a big difference in the money. So let's say you go bust, and he doesn't turn out to be what he was, or I'm not saying a bust, but maybe average, not what you expected of a number 1 overall. Okay, you don't lose too much, especially the way the wage scale is now in the NFL. And let's say you still take a quarterback in the second, you've done your due diligence. You still got your quarterback, and you got that pass rusher. And again, look, it's going to be an interesting draft. Names are flying everywhere. But I'll be honest with you, like we were talking about the Johnny Manziel thing, I have never seen in a draft where nobody can agree where this guy is going to go. They have him from the first all the way to day 2. Nobody can agree.
Well, before we end this show here, I wanted to talk about one more team, and that's our Miami Dolphins. Needed to hit up on an analyst out there. What's up with this, man? C.J. Mosley, I mean, I know he's a decent linebacker coming out of Alabama. You can't try my man Chris Borland. I'm sorry. There's no way I will take Mosley over Borland.
Borland's a tackling machine, man. I love the guy, the way he runs from sideline to sideline.
Like we said here, long time ago, Zack Thomas look-alike.
Oh, yeah. We've been saying it for the longest. Since we started doing our show, we've been keeping an eye on Chris Borland from Wisconsin, and he comes from a program like Wisconsin, which is the Big Ten. Those guys are big, physical, rough. And the man tackles. He tackles. There's nothing about arm tackling. This man picture perfect. He can teach a school of kids how to tackle.
Yeah, definitely. Very physical guy. Love this guy. He will be a great addition to the Miami Dolphins. Having him, you easily move somebody like Ellerbe to the outside, who I think will play amazing on the outside.
I think he's definitely, I would agree with you.
And you have Philip Wheeler, who can just rotate in and out with Koomisi.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Ellerbe is going to be a lot better player on the outside than he will in the middle. Chris Borland will be definitely a guy to look at because I think he's going to be around in the second round because people are dismissing him.
Yeah, they are. They
must not be watching the tape on this guy.
This is one guy who will come into the NFL and be an impact immediately his first year. Think of Patrick Willis. Think of Gerard Mayo. Think of Luke Kuechly. This is what you're going to see in Chris Borland. I promise you, anybody who takes him.
All this guy does is tackle. That's all I'm going to say.
And that's what you need to do as a middle linebacker is read that quarterback and break on that ball.
All right, well, that'll do it for our episode today of Real Talk, Real Sports. With my brother here on our Easter Sunday and my co-host Michael Sanchez. And I'm your host, Anthony Sanchez. Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter to you all.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow us and follow my blogs at www.realtalkrealsports13.blogspot.com. Come check it out. I'm writing always blogs on all things that are sports.
One last thing, salute to all the troops who couldn't be with their fam.
As a fellow veteran, I would like to say also Happy Easter to you and your families out there. Again, I know you guys are out there fighting for our freedom. Salute to you guys. Happy Easter to everybody. Enjoy with your families. Have a good one.